podcast. Got a lot in store for today. We're going to talk about Tell the Tape, two players. We're going to highlight one from our game this week, JC versus Kel, the running back Tyreek Green. Can't wait to break down his tape. And we'll look at Tyler Jackson as well. And then we'll talk about the biggest results from week 8, standout performers, and then we'll get into some college picks, how we did, how we fared. I think Craig got the upper hand yet again. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Predictions for this week, top storylines. And then we'll get into NFL, including the game from last night. And then we'll also talk about Giants losing to Buffalo, our biggest takeaway, and major matchup for the Lions, the hottest team in NFL right now. So, Greg, how you feeling today?
Feeling good, yeah. And the Bengals got another win, so that's good.
Yes, no complaints.
The season's still rolling.
Yes.
Think we did better with our college picks. We did really well, both of us, with our high school picks this past week. And then when it comes to our games, early on we had a lot of blowouts. We've had a nice streak recently, though. The games have been really close.
Yeah.
I think we'll have the same this week, a great matchup. But, yeah, it was another exciting matchup this past week. It came down to a wild finish.
Yeah, it did. We had 3 in a row, like you mentioned. We had the first one, Lee County versus Houston County. Then the week after, Cartersville versus Cass. And then this past week, Harrison versus North Paul. So some good games on TV.
Yep, and you guys definitely need to check it out. We'll talk a little bit about this last matchup. The conditions were pretty crazy. It was just misty. No one really expected rain, too. I think that's the difference. When you know it's on the radar, you might bring an extra towel or something, but that wasn't the case.
No.
And when it comes to Harrison, because, that was a big game for them, they struggled to run the ball. And I still like Braylon Ford, the quarterback. He played well, didn't make mistakes. North Paulton has a great defense, but why do I point out the run? If they were able to get into these second and short situations, that could have opened up the playbook. They struggled to run the ball, and so that's why they didn't really get going until late in the game when they made some plays. But overall, big win for North Paulton. Now they're in kind of a race with McEachern, who's really hot to battle for that region title.
No, 100%. You mentioned it on your show yesterday, the top region matchups you're looking forward to. I believe McEachern plays North Paulton this week, so that'll be a good one to kind of watch for, see who comes out on top. McEachern looking good, and continuing to kind of do their thing. So, yeah, man, it's been interesting. But what other results you thought were big?
Well, we got to talk about Mill Creek. And first of all, Trajan Greco, I thought him getting player of the week just came out. That's huge. And what was he described as in that write-up? Mill Creek, they're missing all these pieces. They were looking for someone to fill that Caleb Downs role, play defense, make those big plays, ball hawk in the secondary, make big tackles, go in on offense, make the big clutch catches. He did Buford in the biggest region game. There's not another team in that region that even has a winning record right now. That game was so huge. He came up big, and that's a great comparison. And I think it's even more impressive, honestly, because he played with Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs, a multi-year starter, but he's had to be that guy all season long, and he showed up primetime, televised matchup. He's going to Georgia Tech, and I shout out to him. That was a great, memorable performance.
Yeah, I think the one that caught my eye, I was watching on the sideline, was when he had the one-handed catch, no gloves on, raining, and catches it with one hand, gets to go ahead score. At that point, I thought it was like, okay, hey, they're probably going to run it up. But, it was back and forth. You got to give a shout-out to Buford. You got to give a shout-out to Mill Creek. It was just a phenomenal game going back and forth. And one thing I kind of highlighted on my show, my personal show on Thursdays, was that Shane Tharmar had to have a good game. And it wasn't he needed to pass for 300-400 yards, but he needed to pass for about 150, 200, a couple touchdowns, which was what he did. And the playmakers won on the outside. So he was the X factor for me. He performed up to par. He did his thing. Jaden Patterson was winning on the outside. Trajan Greco was winning on the outside. And the receivers did their thing. Now, you would say, okay, well, Ken Robinson almost had a 100-yard game. But for the most part, it was tough sledding, right? That Buford front seven is no joke. And having Edric Houston back in the game who played, and Bryce Perry Wright, and all those boys there, and the great linebacking team they got in Jaden Parlati and Montrez Walker. It's tough sledding. He got the ball about 24, 25 times, about 95 yards. So tough sledding game, but they did enough to win. And it was prime time. And, that's why I was on ESPN too. So like you said, great performance all around, great performance from Greco. he's showing that, and even when I seen him when he was a sophomore, that he could play both sides of the ball at a high rate. And, he was one of those key factors in the game too.
Yep. And from what I saw people commenting on the game, Buford did have some turnovers. The receivers were apparently dropping a lot of balls. It's been a question mark. I mean, Dylan Raiola, he's an unbelievable quarterback. I still don't think he's thrown an interception this season. But in the tough conditions, that might have favored Mill Creek a little bit, but they made the plays and then just executed the game plan, put up 31 points on Buford. That's not easy to do, and just a huge win and just more proof of just how crazy 7A is going to be this year. And it's amazing that you got Mill Creek at the top of a lot of polls right now. People didn't think that was going to be the case heading into the season with all the pieces.
Yep.
But that is just outstanding.
Yeah, for me, I got to be Archer beating Parkview 28-27. The crazy part about this game, I want you to hear this, Craig. William Wallace had 2 receiving touchdowns in this game. He took over as the emergency quarterback after Jordan Dew went down. He had also a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. When you talk about delivering in the big moments against a rival and a team that you got to beat, that puts Archer at 2-0 in the region, a big time win against Parkview, with still a potential chance to compete and contend for a region title. I mean, that's big time for Archer. I mean, big time game for William Wallace. Did everything well for them, both sides of the ball. I mean, that's a prime time performance. That was one of my biggest results from Week 8. Archer getting Parkview, a team that we thought, obviously they got state championship aspirations as we talked to them in Week 1 in the interviews. They want to win state. And things like that. So for them to come and get that win against them, surely not easy. A lot of athletes on Parkview, a lot of great players. But I know they're banged up. Kyrie Spain's banged up. Traylon Maddox is banged up. But it's a big-time win.
100%. And so Parkview's only loss came to Mill Creek in non-region play. They were still considered a front runner in that region. They still have to play Newton, still have to play Grayson. So that win for Archer to get 2-0 and knock off one of those heavyweights in the region, huge for their playoff aspirations. And I think with Parkview, they have amazing talent. They aren't able to just get in a rhythm. So in a tight game like that, and I feel like the same was true with Mill Creek, when you have to have that 4-minute drive or that 2-minute drive, they have guys that can get them back in the game. They have guys that can give them the lead, but as just a consistent offense, I don't think they have that yet. And then William Wallace just had one of the best games in the state, playing 2 different positions, dominating the first half at receiver, and then leading them to victory in the second half. That is just massive. Yeah, shout out to Coach Williams as well.
Yep. And then I got one more, and I'm going to throw it to you, Craig. I know you got some more big results. I got to go West Forsyth beating Lambert 10-0. Lambert's been a top team, in my opinion, all year long. Kind of slept on. Tommy Lafayette's been having a great year on both sides of the ball. I think he has over 4 to 5 interceptions. Also on defense, runs the rock well. Lambert has a really good team. For them to shut them out and hold them 10-0, I mean, we see in Week 1, West Forsyth looked really good against James McCallar and crew in that team, and they're doing their thing. They're still undefeated, I believe, but they only got 1 loss on the year, and they got them playing well and at a high rate right now for West Forsyth.
That's right. West Forsyth calls themselves linebacker U, and that defense showed up big time. Lambert runs creative offenses, a lot of different looks. They got the shutout, and they played Milton this week, who's also coming off a shutout victory. So 2 great defenses going up against each other. I think it's a big game for both of them. Obviously, the region implications, but Milton's trying to get back on track. People haven't talked about them in recent weeks after the North Cobb loss and some other hiccups early in the season, but it's a big matchup for either of those teams. But I like the way West Forsyth's defense has been playing. That linebacker core is the real deal. They fly around.
Yeah, and they still got 30 straight region wins for Milton. So keep sleeping on them. I mean, they're still doing their thing. But I'll throw it to you, Craig. What are the results you got?
All right, let's see. Oh, yeah. Peachtree Ridge over Northwood.
I got that one
100%.
Yep.
That's just – that was the first big test in the region, for sure. And they were coming off the bye.
20 days haven't not played. 20 days.
That's tough. And it's not just like a bye week. You also have the fall break where the kids aren't even in class. And they picked up right where they left off. A huge victory.
Yep.
And, yeah, they got that Norcross one looming, but
that's going to be for region title, I'm telling you.
Exactly. Undefeated start right now. 7-0.
That is the game. If you want a game of the week, October 27th, that is the game of the week. Peachtree Ridge, Norcross. Norcross, we know how good they are. won state multiple times. Great coach and Coach Maloof went over 200 win mark this past season. Peachtree Ridge hasn't been good in a long time. Coach Helmer got them playing great ball, 7-0. You don't get a better match than that. That is for the region crown potentially. Big time matchup, good quarterbacks, good athletes, and AJ Watkins, who's been performing well. 1 September, TD Club of Gwinnett, Player of the Month. That is a matchup that you put on TV.
Yeah,
Peachtree Ridge
and when we were talking about the matchup, we were with Rob, and he obviously was at Johns Creek with Coach Helmrich. That coaching staff has come together, but you look at how they've been successful. They got Darnell Kelly. They aren't afraid to pass the ball. They're so explosive in the passing game that can set up the run. Defensively, that secondary is very, very talented. And so North Gwinnett, they like to rely on the pass this year. They made that difficult. And then you're going to have an offense that can do both against them. You aren't just going to be able to go out there and throw it deep on them. They're going to shut it down. They're going to get picks.
Yep.
And I just like their athletes. And when you talk just about great athletes in a matchup, that Norcross Peachtree Ridge game is going to be absolutely electric and incredible. I expect it to 100% come down to the wire.
Yep.
And one big game, though, Sequoia's win over Creekview, I pointed that one out. Creekview still has to play Rome, and so Sequoia's only region loss is to Rome. Now Creekview has a loss, obviously, because Sequoia just beat them, so that potentially gives Sequoia home field in the first round. So that was a big win for them. Tight ball game, 31-27. I was looking at some of the stats from that game. They had a great day passing the ball, and that was a good response from them, beating a Creekview team that was really hot. And now Sequoia only has Allatoona and Woodstock left on their schedule. Both of them are just one-win teams, so I expect them to lock down that home field.
100%. And then the next one I have to go is Crop Christian, 22-0 win against South Atlanta. You beat the defending region champions. You were trying to win your first region title in school history and program history. Talked to head coach Jones last week on my show, so I think that's a big win for them. That's just good for building momentum. Only a couple games left in the regular season, and they beat the defending region champions, so that's big for momentum and going forward.
Yeah, and then the one thing I want to point out this week that's kind of unique, there's a lot of Thursday matchups, a lot of Saturday ones to watch for. A big one for me is going to be Houston County against Thomas County Central.
Ooh.
Thomas County Central has not been in a close game all season long. Can Houston County get a win? And then you look at that region, Lee County still has to play Thomas County Central. This one could put them right back in the conversation for home field. We've been to that stadium. I know they want home field in the playoffs. Another big one, East Paulding against Douglas County. We saw East Paulding against Hughes play really solid game. They were competitive throughout it. Hughes pulled away late. That incredible back, I think, is just too much, and the dam broke. But it's a big test for Douglas County. They're in the driver's seat right now in that region after beating Hughes. They're the only team without a loss, but I think this is the game where they win this one. This is going to secure that home field.
100%. I mean, and I'd be curious to see how they come out on top. Douglas County, another big test for them. I think it'll be interesting to see. Mine is going to be the big matchup to watch for. Got to be North Atlanta Marist, man. Thursday night, Marist look good when we seen them on TV, run the ball really, really well. I'm just curious to see that speed of North Atlanta versus kind of that physicality of a Marist. And we've seen how physical they were in week 1 in the Corky Kell when they played against Johns Creek, how physical North Atlanta can be. And now they got a good safety. They got Zayden Benson, got a really good running game with Darius Malcolm, who they use, and Demetrius Barnes. So I know Coach Doe watches our show a lot. We are really interested in that one, Coach Doe. We can't wait to see who comes out on top. But that is going to be a good game between those two teams, potentially for the region crown.
Without a doubt, that is a top 10 matchup this week, regardless of classification. And within that, we saw when BT played them, Brooks Goodman, their quarterback, once Marist was able to get them in some third and long situations, I mean, they brought the heat. They brought the blitzes, were really aggressive. So if that offense, if Ian Reynolds can get back there, but it's going to come down to that offensive line for North Atlanta. They've been physical. They've been dominant all year long. They're going to have to communicate because you got some really talented players in that Marist defense. So I think they're up for the challenge. I'm going to pick North Atlanta for an upset to keep their perfect season alive, and they're going to have to stop that Marist rushing attack.
Yes.
But they've already played Wheeler, one of the best rushing teams in the state, with I think it's Josiah Allen, their running back. He's pacing, I think, that region, one of the top rushers. So they were able to kind of limit them, force Marist to throw the ball, use that speed in the secondary. That's where it's at, though. The speed versus just the methodical Marist system.
100%. And then we'll talk about JCKL a little bit more later on Craig's show Wednesday. Show obviously on Thursday. We'll break that down and what we're gonna keep rolling. We're gonna go to this week's 8 standout performers. Appreciate the 7 that are tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But let's go and get started. Athens Academy, number 1 for me, running back Jamari Welch, 200 rushing yards on 20 carries. I mean, a phenomenal effort from him. It was all over. I think he got nominated by Recruit Georgia. I think he got nominated on what is that called? The Georgia High School Football Daily newsletter. So I mean, he had a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, Athens Academy, they've been impressive this year. And so when I first put them on the radar, because they were in the top 10 this past week, I think they're at 9 or 10, was they dominated against Mount Vernon, who's an up and coming team. You ask any coach that plays them, they've been kind of like that 8-win, 10. This is a really special team they had, so they dominated that one like 36-0. They played Fellowship Christian though this last week, and when it comes to 2A, I've said Fellowship Christian, don't sleep on them. The few losses they had, they dropped one to Trinity Christian. Trinity Christian is a 4A school. They're currently at the top of their region with Troop, Stars Mill, Whitewater, LaGrange. So that was a close game. I think it was a 1-touchdown loss. Other than that, Fellowship's been just ridiculous. And in that matchup you're talking about, there must have been 800 yards on the ground in that game, because I think, Fellowship rushed for 422. And I'm a little upset because Fellowship's Max Preps, they don't have the full season stats, but I bet CJ Givers this season, he's got to be closing in on like 1,700, 1,800.
For sure.
The team rushed for 6 touchdowns this last week. They have the biggest offensive line in 2A. I don't think it's even close with Josh Petty, and that's just going to be tough to stop in the playoffs.
No, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
That was a great matchup this last week.
Yes. And then my next one, I got to go with Bowden quarterback Kyler McGrin. He passed for 298 yards, guys, 3 touchdowns, 196 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's getting it done. That's 5 total touchdowns over close to about 4 to 450 total yards. I mean, that's getting it done. We don't always give a lot of love to Class A Division 1, Class A Division 2, but I want to give him a shout out today. Kyler McGrin, keep doing your thing, man. 298 yards, 3 touchdowns, 196 yards rushing, and 2 tutties. Great performance.
Yep. All right, let's go to 5A. Vincent Berry, Creekside's quarterback, had a really efficient game. They dominated against Maynard Jackson in region play, 66-6. So, seeing Creekside's 1 loss this year to Maynard Day. Well, they come back to Georgia. They're winning by 60 in their region. Maynard Jackson's a good team as well.
Yes.
But yeah, he was 12 of 15, 213 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That Creekside offense was also rolling on the ground, and that is what I like about them. They know what they're good at. They kill you with the run, and then with Vincent Berry back there getting to the playmakers, that's why I have them number 1.
Yes, sir. All right, number 3 for me, I got to go Charlton County defensive end Jamie Jackson. 2 defensive touchdowns in this game, a fumble return for a touchdown, interception return for a touchdown, 6 tackles, and he had an additional fumble recovery. That's getting it done on the defensive side of the ball. 2 defensive touchdowns and 6 tackles and an additional fumble recovery. So got to give a shout out Charlton County defensive end Jamie Jackson. What a performance. Great job on Friday night. You did your thing. You get standout performer from this week.
Absolutely. All right. Well, one guy I want to shout out that I don't have the full stats, but I thought Ajax Anderson for North Paulding, he's had some big games this year. I think he hasn't gone past like the 4 catches in a game, but his touchdown catch right at the half to put them up 21-7 was a beautiful catch, dragged his feet in bounds. I thought he made some huge plays in that second quarter, and he comes from a family, his brothers played there, Boone Anderson. he's a big prospect, like 6'2", 225 tight end.
Athletic.
And I was very, very impressed with him. I thought he made some really key plays in that game. A guy that does not get a lot of credit. You got Javarius George.
Yep.
He always impresses. One of the best playmakers I've seen for sure. But I really like the way he stepped up in that game.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that clip, it is now live on our YouTube page. Told you X Swag, I called it. Ajax Anderson. I was on the sideline and seen the play. I mean, first off, it was a tough catch, as Craig alluded to, because you got a defender closing speed pretty hard. So he has to be able to see that, absorb the contact and hit while also dragging his feet to make sure you get the 1 feet inbound. So, as Craig said, I mean, he was phenomenal. He was making big catches over the middle of the field. And I think that's the cool thing and the great thing about North Paulding this year. They have some good playmakers you can get the ball to in space and make plays. Javarius George, Benet, I'm not going to say his last name, but number 7 for North Paulding. His first name is Benet. He's really good as well. And you add Ajax Anderson, and they can run the ball as well. I think, as you mentioned, if they can get him about 5-6 targets a game, I think he could really be dangerous. And then when they try to take away Javarius George and those double moves down the field, you go over the middle, wide open with Ajax, and he could turn into a big game as well.
Yeah, he's a beast. I think North Paulding, we've seen a lot of games so far. They are very, very well coached.
Yep.
I can say that for sure. And then we talked about the game already, but Harrison clearly won the special teams department in that game. Like I said, Harrison struggled running the ball. Well, they had a huge advantage on special teams just with the bobbled snaps, the field position throughout it. I mean, Harrison's kickers were next level, the way they were able to pin them. But, I mean, what it came down to was just the play calling. North Paulding was in control the whole game, and so it was phenomenal. And as you know, I pointed out that play at the end yesterday on the show. Not trying to throw shade on the referees, but here's why it's also important. That could happen on any snap in the game unless you are aware of it.
Yep.
The only reason it happened is because they didn't have the onside go their way and the game was on the line. But what's going to stop someone from doing that in the first half?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Craig alluded to that in the show. Go check that clip out. Great analysis on that play and why it's so significant. But we're going to keep it rolling. I got number 4 for me, running back from Dalton, Adriel Hernandez. He rushed for 209 yards and 4 touchdowns against Cass. I mean, that's just dominant. Got to get some love to the offensive line, too. But, I mean, you talk about getting it done, running the football, 200 plus 9 yards. And the crazy thing is we just seen Cass shut down Cartersville. And then Christian Lando this week goes off for 200 plus yards against Hiram. But just the week before, we seen them shut down the run, couldn't run the ball, couldn't get anything going offensively. And the week right after, obviously that has a lot to do with Devin Henderson being injured, being hurt. But at the same time, I mean, 209 yards the week before, they pretty much shut down for the most part, except a couple big plays from Cartersville. They pretty much had them under wraps. So, I mean, that's definitely big time for Dog running back to be able to run for that many yards.
Yeah, and I think with those big plays, it's like they must have known, like, okay, Cass is going to be doing this defensively because most of them were wide open, just great throws, great routes. But, I mean, that region, though, you talk about Dalton, Calhoun's offense this past week, I think that region has probably scored more points on average throughout the board than any other one. They light it up every single week. And, man, if Calhoun would have come away with that win against Cartersville, they'd be talked about for sure, because that offense with Trey Townsend, a lot of their playmakers, they got Caden Williams and a lot of different guys. They're dangerous in 5A. I definitely like them. But I'm going to go to Wayne County, Matthew Fuller. We've talked a lot about running backs in this segment, but 272 yards, 26 carries in a win over New Hampstead. Wayne County is going to play, I believe, Benedictine this week. So Burke County already suffered a loss to Benedictine, but now this is a big opportunity for Wayne County to force a 3-way tie potentially, and then if Benedictine wins this game, they clinch the region, so they'd be one of the first teams in the state to secure that
in October. And real quick too, Coach Doe, we appreciate the comment. We know you'll be ready. Craig already taking you guys for the win. I'm taking you guys as well for the win. I just believe you got so much talent and speed. Great offensive game plan. I believe in Ian Reynolds. He's been taking big steps forward this year, and defensively, y'all just fly around to the ball. And the running game is just something special. So we wanted to make that comment real quick before we keep going. We are excited for that game. We are taking both. Me and Craig are taking North Atlanta to win, so we can't wait. Hopefully, you'll give us a result on Twitter, or you'll be back on the show next Tuesday and give us a comment. All right, let's keep going. My last one is Tatnall Square linebacker Anson Talcott, 11 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, and a sack. That's getting it done. Big time performance from Anson Talcott of Tatnall Square. Big time game.
Yep, and then Newton running back Zion Johnson, another big performance against Brookwood, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns. Newton's offense, they've been outstanding, handle business. We expect them to beat Brookwood, but the way they're winning, they aren't skipping a beat. They look extremely motivated to continue their run this year and have that special season. And we talked to their coach. They won a state title. That fan base, they know they've had exceptional teams. They're confident, and then this is the year that they had that vision, just moving some of the administrative roles around, getting the players involved, playing guys young last year. They are the real deal, week in and week out.
Yeah, and actually big time game to even prove it even more. They will be playing Parkview on GPB Sports this upcoming week. That would be a heck of a game to see them. And as you said, they can continue to put their stranglehold on that region. They come out with a win again. They move to 8-0 on the season.
Yep, it's just next victim.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. Parkview is definitely going to have their hard hats on and fly 11 hats to football because they're going to run that rock. So that's all I got for our standouts. Did you have any more, Craig?
No, that's it.
All right, that's all we got now. Now it's time, guys, for the wrap up our segment, our high school with some tell of the tape, 2 underrated players. I did a tweet, got some comments. Appreciate that, guys. For the players we did not get to this week, we will break down that film next week on the show on Tuesday for these players. But let's go ahead and start with Tyreek Green. Got to give some credit and love to Coach Fernandez. He is the one that said you guys should go ahead and look at it. Plays for Cal. We will be at the game this week, GSC versus Cal, prime time on TV. So on Peachtree Sports Network. So without further ado, let's pull it up. All right, here we go, guys. Tyreek Green. Let's do a full screen. All right, start it over. Let's get rolling. All right, here we go. Nice move right there. I mean, and thing that stands out is just the speed, man. I mean, he took that right from the center of the snap. Wildcat makes the move on the defender. Just great speed right there, getting off. Okay, here he is right here. Like he's in pass pro. Woo! Look at him lay the block for his quarterback, Bryce Clavin. Goodness gracious. You know what I like? And I'm gonna pause that real quick, too. Hold on. What I like about this play, too, guys, like right here, he could have got mad. He could be like, dude, I'm open. Like, give me the ball.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But he does like, okay, hey, I see my quarterback running. Let me go make a play on the ball. I love that. I love that.
That was awesome.
That is textbook right there. Okay, Green. I see you, Tyreek. Let's see. Okay, this is a running play right here. Waits for his blocks. Nothing's there. Good cut back. Boom. Make the defender miss. Make 2 miss. Woo. Look at them Jets. Goodness. He made at least 2 or 3 defenders missing the hole.
Yeah, some big plays so far. I'm definitely impressed.
All right, this is against Cambridge last week. Boom. 1, 2. Ooh. Look at them blocks coming.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, so he can reverse field, but it's all just about getting that open space.
That's it. And he turned into a big play every time. That's big time. On the road. Okay, here we go. Here goes another one. All right, good job right there. A little screenplay set up for him. Boom. I mean, blockers in front. Boom. 1 missed tackle. Turn into a big game. I mean, just we got to call him what? Big play Green?
Yeah.
Or big play Tyreek? All right, here we go. We got a little motion with Kyle right there. Play action.
Oh, beautiful play.
Beautiful wheel route. Confuse the defenders. 1 person left. Nice move. Make a miss. Kyle throws the block. That's big time. Okay. I like the play calling, too. Okay, over here. We get these defensive snaps.
That's from the team scrimmage.
Yeah.
Where they dominated Peachtree Ridge.
Woo. Look at him just read. I mean, that's just great job reading the play.
And takes it to the house.
Wow. Big 6. That right there is what you call big time. Okay, here we go again. Let's get a little handoff. 1 missed tackle. 2 missed tackles. They're going to reverse field. That is crazy.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing on that play. I mean, he's just making play.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like, oh, don't go backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, he breaks the tackle there.
And I'm going to pause it. Look, after you break, look, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's nothing on that play. And they're going to just reverse field. Wow.
Making it look easy.
Literally. All right, here he is again. Boom. 1. There's 2 missed tackles that counted. That's 3.
Man, he was stumbling and still beat him to the edge.
Yeah, that kid's the real deal. And I heard, too, through the grapevine, Keller has 3 good running backs, too. All right, another little screenplay. This is against Cambridge. Woo! Look at that move. 2, 3. Goodness gracious. All right, but look at a couple more. Another play. I mean, that's just him breaking out, being there for his quarterback. I mean, look at the Jets. You got to be at least clocking, what, 19, 18 miles per hour, 20 miles per hour? I mean, come on. Here he is again. Nice move in the hole. Ooh, made that defender miss.
Right there.
Goodness. It's like, that's what you call that's sweet right there. All right, here we go. We got another one. Same thing as Cambridge. Get to the edge, break the tackle. That's 2 missed tackles. And scoring a tutty. I think he ran for over 200 yards in that game. I think he had 17 carries, 240 yards or something, a couple touchdowns. Yeah. I mean,
that Kell offense, it's been good all season, but right. I think they're operating right now, it is dangerous.
We've seen a couple cuts. We'll look at a couple more before we exit out. What's your standout from his game, from what you've just seen in your eyes, Craig?
I think he's just a piece in this offense that's just incredibly deep, balanced, explosive, and so he's able to catch the ball. He can take screens, go to the house. He's physical with his blocking, and
he just gets upfield.
I mean, he's not losing yards on anything.
No. I think for me is like if you're GSC, you go into this game, you better have them cutback lanes filled, because if not, he's gonna turn something small into something big. Here he is on defense right here against Pope. Great job playing the ball.
How did he pick that?
Elite ball skills right there. So I mean, this kid's playing both sides of the ball. I mean, at an elite level.
Yeah, and there's just a confidence in his own athletic ability.
Yeah, here we go again. We got another one. We're going to just play the ball. Whoop, that's mine. Jump ball, easy money. We'll leave that there. I mean, this kid is impressive. I think we're going to have one to watch for on Friday. I mean,
absolutely.
He's
we'll be
the guy.
Highlighting that game the rest of the week.
Yes.
So here's the funny thing about Kell. Heading into the Parkview game, I was looking at the roster. I keep reminding people this was when Kyer Spain was still on that Parkview team. I think that was a big loss for them. But I said at the beginning of the game, I said, I think Parkview, I just think they're too talented. They're 7A. They're gonna win this game. They're gonna blow them out.
Right.
And then we saw the big play early on, and you went up to me, and I was seriously doubting myself. And I'm like, okay. And then Parkview ended up winning. But as I said, the funny thing is, after that game, even though I was right about it, completely changed my mind.
Right.
And from that day, I was like, no, Kell's the real deal. People are going to look at that score. They're going to be fooled by it. Watch out for them. And then you add Tyreek, all these new pieces that have just gotten better and better. This is a unique situation for Kell, just how they've progressed through the season. They know that they're hitting their stride.
I mean, they got Kamari Nix. They got Tariq Green. They got Contarius Gibson, who's a freshman. That's what I said. They have a three-headed monster in the backfield. Then you throw on top of that a sophomore standout in Peyton Zachary, Kyle Vaca, who is underrated speed. We talked to him, how elite he is with route running ability. You add Bryce Clavin in there, and defensively, like you said, this is probably the most team besides maybe a couple in 5A that has 7-8 athletes on their team.
Yeah, and then let's go back to the Pope game. Okay, they didn't necessarily win that one by a lot. So people are like, okay, well, we figured they should have won that one more. Their offense in the game since has just gotten even better. And on those highlights, look at the offensive line. They're downfield blocking on the screens.
Yep.
They're blocking in the run game. So the offensive lines come together now. And
Yes.
so now that they have all the pieces, I think they know they're comfortable in any situation. They're
Yep.
going to take what the defense gives you. Okay, Cambridge, they're going to try to stop our passing attack. Well, we're just going to run all over them.
Pretty much. All right, guys. Well, that's what we think. Tyreek Green, we appreciate Coach for that, sending that in. That kid is the real deal. So we can't wait to see him on Friday night. All right, we got one more we're going to break down before we move to our college segment. This is Tyler Jackson from Austell, Georgia, South Cobb High School. So let's go ahead and roll this tape, break it down.
I think that's against Marist too.
Yeah, like
You
a nice
read that
QB sack
perfectly.
right there. Flying to flat like a safety right there.
Yeah, that was a safety. Come on, ref.
Yeah, I don't know why the safety wasn't called. Okay, here he is right here. Boom, nice forced fumble right there from Tyreek. Or sorry, from Jackson. Nice
Big
oof,
hit.
Sheesh. Go back to that one. Goodness gracious. Talk about laying the kid out. Okay, right here. Fight through the block. Number 3, here he is. Boom. Sheesh. Better get out of bounds, man. Better get out of bounds. All right, here he is again. Right here, guys. Y'all can see him coming around. Making plays right there. Boom. Nice stick right there. Hit him in the right there and drive him back. All right, here he is again right here, guys. Y'all can see. Playing coverage. Sniffs it out. Sees the screen coming. Boom. Nice play on the ball right there. All right, here he is right here.
It's Kennesaw Mountain.
Yup. Great job right there. A block shedding. Making a play on the ball. Here he is right here. Coming down. Boom. I mean, his instincts are next level. That's what stands out to me. I mean, like, he can read if it's going to be a run or if it's going to be a pass. So you can tell this kid watches tape. Here he is at the middle linebacker position right here. Boom. Reads it well. So he hits
footwork.
him. Yeah. Great footwork. Great hit. Don't allow him to get more yards. All right. Looks like he's at the potential will on this one.
Hit him. Wheeler reading that. They want to run it.
Hitting him right in his tracks. Great job right there. Here he is playing a little bit of coverage. All right, here he is again. Like he's going to come off the edge potentially. Yeah. Nice job right there. I think he prevents a touchdown right there. All right, here he is again on the edge. Block shedding. Boom. Just knifes through. Good job using his hands right there. Good TFL. Same thing right here. Here he is, guys. Slips. Go makes a play on the ball. I mean, that's great.
He's on 3rd down, too.
Yep. Got a couple more. I think he's over here. He just completely obliterated him out the play. All right, here he is again on the edge. Good block shed. Yeah, I mean,
that's might be the most impressive one I've seen first. That's like an offensive tackle on him, I think.
Yeah, literally. And I mean, he's not big in size. I think that's it. He's not big in size. But Craig, what's your just takeaways from his film?
I think what impressed me, a lot of those plays were 3rd down, and so in that role, there's a lot you got to do. You got to set the edge. You can't let the running back get outside. But he's so good at basically he has the opposite of a Velcro jersey. He gets off blocks. They aren't able to engage with him. He's able to get off it and then pursue the ball. And I think even in the open field, some of those, he's chopping his feet. He's not over pursuing it. He's just very controlled. So I thought he's just a great tackler.
I think for me, my standouts is the versatility, right? You're seeing him line up at the Mike linebacker position, the Will linebacker position, and him rushing off the edge. So I think that versatility helps him out a lot. He's able to come down. He's able to play coverage. He's able to be moved anywhere and make a play on the ball. I think, too, you can tell you watch his film because he kind of already knows what the offense is going to do. He knows if it's going to be a running play based off formation. And he has really good play recognition. He knows quickly and what it's going to be, how he needs to move. He's a great sure tackler, as Craig alluded to too. So those are my three standouts. Way can tell you watch film, great play recognition, and he could play the versatility. He can play anywhere on the field.
Yeah, and so with the play recognition, like you see some of those plays, he's trying to get off his block, but still, even if the play is going to the other side of the ball, he's watching where it's going, and then he's making making plays opposite side of the field. Yep. I think one of the things we're going to see him continue to do is force those turnovers. We saw a couple of those, but that is a delicate balance because sometimes you just got to bring the guy down. But when you're coming in from behind the play, that's when you can really make those game-changing plays. I expect a lot more of that. They got a big matchup this week against Dunwoody.
Yeah, and they're 6-1 this year.
Yeah. Dunwoody just beat St. Pius. It's a big win, so that'll be a matchup.
For sure. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning into that high school segment. Hope you enjoyed it. 40 minutes of a lot of fun. We're going to move to the second segment and talk about some college, man. We got some big news out of Georgia. This broke yesterday. Brock Bowers undergoes tightrope surgery, expected to be out a month plus, about 46 weeks. Big-time injury for him, kind of leading receiver. We know he's probably one of the best players in college football. So that's big time. What's your take on that?
Well, it's a good thing he wasn't out in the Auburn game or some of those other ones. It seems like they really were relying on him a lot more. I think it's a big loss for sure, but whether or not he can return or not, Georgia is very deep at that tight end position. Oscar Delp, obviously, they aren't as good as Brock, but I do feel like they can be creative. They have a lot of depth there. Also, a guy like Pierce Spurlin, people don't realize how good he was, the incoming freshman. I saw him back when he used to play at Walton. He moved down to Florida, went from just a towering receiver that caught everything to a tight end. He was the number 3 prospect in the country, and he's also a heck of a basketball player. So he's a different prototype, but they've got some talent at that tight end position. I think we're going to see those guys step up.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is lean on Dejon Edwards. He had a big-time game last week, rushed for 146 yards and a touchdown. Lean on him and Kendall Milton, right? That kind of set up the play action in the past. We've seen Carson Beck's been having a great year for them. And I think, as you mentioned, obviously you got to see Oscar Depp step up as well. Lad McConkey is one I got circled too. He's, back in the action, had a big game. And the ones we mentioned, Rosemary Saint at receiver, and then Ra Thomas. I think this is going to be a big-time chance for them to step up, be a bigger part of the offense. We've seen them good they played against Kentucky in the game. So I think this is a chance for them to kind of step up, get more touches, get more targets, and turn it into big plays. So I think that's what that means.
Yeah, and it'll be huge also for Carson Beck to just, I'd say, develop a relationship with who's going to be his guy in these clutch third down situations, who's going to step up and make plays like Brock did. It's going to be key. But I think just how much attention Brock required when Georgia's in a third down situation, that's the biggest difference. Obviously, it's playmaking, but just how much emphasis the defense has to put just on, as they say, bracketing him and just keeping a guy all over him, if not two.
Yep, I 100% agree with Craig. That's a good point. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he's able to come back before the season. He's aiming to. Definitely probably going to be a top 5 draft pick next year. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to come back in November and late December when they try to contend him for SEC championship. And next week they're going to play Florida, so big time game for them.
Yep, they always have that bye right before the Florida game. Yep. That's going to be a heck of an atmosphere, especially Florida coming off a pretty big win recently. It's going to be a fun game.
Yep.
But someone else has to step up, make some big third down plays, and also bring that physicality to the receiver and tight end position. That's what was so exciting about him, the yards after the catch. That's the big difference.
Yep, 100%. And we're going to keep it moving. We got to talk about the Colorado loss to Stanford. I just say mind-boggling is a word for me. I just, they led 29-0 at half. And Craig, you brought up a great point when we talked off air. You said you felt like they left their foot kind of off the gas pedal, which it kind of felt like they did. To me, when you have that kind of a lead at a half, all you need is maybe 1 or 2 scoring drives, kill some clock. You pretty much win the game. But they were passing a lot. So I throw a little bit of blame on Dion, throw a little bit of blame on the OC, because obviously the defense has to do better and hold the lead, obviously. But at the same time, if your offense at that point, you want to play ball control, right? You want to lean on I think Dylan Edwards, right, the running back, very shifty. You want to lean on your rushing attack in that and clock. So even if they come down and score, you come in the next possession, whatever, 12, 13 minutes left, you kill the clock. You go on a 7, 8 minute, 9 minute scoring drive. That's pretty much the game over. They're not going to come back. It's not enough time on the clock. So I think on that, they should have won. There's no way they should have lost. I think Travis was just tired. I mean, he's playing both sides of the ball. First game back, guarding their best player, playing on offense. I think he had over 15 catches in that game.
Yep.
So you get tired, man. But overall, I would throw the blame on the OC. And I throw the blame on a little bit of blame on Deion. You just got to be able to run the ball control, and take the team completely out of the game and keep your foot on the gas.
Yeah, you can't look at Colorado this year and be like, oh, they aren't a good second half team. It's like, that's not it.
No.
It's a Thursday game. They're in complete control. It's just them taking their foot off the gas, 100%. And as you mentioned, they need to look at it the way you pointed out. When you have a lead like that, hey guys, we need 2 touchdowns in this second half. We're going to make it happen no matter what, and we got this in the bag. I think if you have that approach, it puts it into perspective instead of like this 2 separate halves thing. Oh, it's 0-0 now. Let's go out there. No, it's not 0-0. You have the lead. They're going to try to come back as fast as possible, and you need to score two touchdowns at least, and you got it in the bag. So I think it's a wake-up call.
Yep.
It's very tough. Anyone who watched that game, I know a lot of people turned it off, and then you tell them, hey, Colorado lost. They're like, stop trolling me. It's like, no, they did. It was a tough one.
Yeah.
They've had a wild season, but, I mean, you can't just blame the coaches. You got to put the blame on everyone.
For sure, players too.
Exactly.
No, 100%. And I think if you're Deion, you got to strongly consider playing Cormani McLean, right? The game before, we seen him making big plays against USC. That's the 5-star player from Florida that's at Colorado now. And we've seen the progression, right? We've seen, no offense, obviously it's just a bad game for Stoutmeyer, but you got to lean a little bit on him, right? You got Travis. I think Cormani McLean is another one of those players that potentially grow up before our eyes and be one of those key players defensively that you can lean on to kind of take away his side of the field. We know Travis, for the most part, can. I think he'll be much better this week because he's getting the reps back. He's gotten the reps in. He'll look better. But if you got another guy that can take away that side of the field, it throws a little bit of, takes the pressure off of Travis and Shiloh Sanders. So
I just wish Cormani was, I think, on the field and his skill set. I saw him in person, as I said. He's the closest thing to Travis Hunter I've ever seen. A guy that can play both sides of the ball if he wanted to. I just wish he had that Travis Hunter mindset. That's the biggest difference. He's so talented, but no one has that attitude Travis does. He's one of the most exciting, electric, people would say, dogs I've ever seen. He's so competitive.
Very.
He wants to be the best at both positions.
Ever.
If Cormani had a little bit of that and just realized, okay, I'm in this situation, I'm at Colorado, we got this big opportunity, I think it would benefit him a lot. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them and the playing time, the film, whatever the deal is, but he certainly, take notes on Travis Hunter.
Yeah, for
because you
sure.
got the skill set.
100%. You wouldn't be playing 5 football if you didn't. So let's talk about our picks in the Week 7 predictions. Georgia Tech plays Boston College this week. They're coming off that big win against Miami. And then they have their bye week, obviously. So it's a big-time game. And why it has big implications, Craig, they're 3-3. They beat Boston College at 12 or at noon. They're going to probably play UNC with a night game at home. Big-time game, bring the crowd out. So I think that's big time. I mean, if you can get this win, Haynes King have a good game. You lean on Eric Singleton Jr., lean on Blaylock and company, and the defense can continue to play a high level of football. I mean, they got some interesting games coming up.
For sure. So I got the conference standings right now. The one thing about Tech, they're playing well against anyone who the opponent is. They'll lose some games they shouldn't lose, and then they'll compete with your Ole Misses, your Louisvilles, obviously your Miami. So the fact that they've gone out and played competitive every week this season, that's a big sign. But as you said, there's currently just 3 teams without a loss right now in the ACC. Tech only has 1 loss. It's a big opportunity for them.
Yes, 100%.
Like,
And then
this is it.
you're gonna play them. And then the interesting thing, we're gonna talk about the matchup in a little bit. Florida State plays Duke this weekend at 7:30 on ABC. So somebody's gonna have a loss in that one. So really, there's only gonna be two potentially left, and Georgia Tech is gonna be able to play one of them the following week. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, let's see how they respond after the big win. And I just like watching them play. I think they've been extremely exciting. I know some of the games have been frustrating, but you compared them last week to a team like Florida, where I mean they can show up and they can get the big win.
Yeah, they can, and they can put you on upset alert. So we're gonna see a big time game. We'll react next week to them playing Boston College. All right. So, Craig, how did you fare on picks last week? I think you beat me yet again. I went 9-5. I should have took your advice and went with Notre Dame, but thought Caleb Williams played at Heisman, but he struggled. He had 3 interceptions in that. Their offense didn't look too good, and Notre Dame does it again. I mean, just when you about to count them out, they get a big time win.
Yep, and you were concerned about USC because of the Arizona game.
Yep, and the defense.
And how they didn't look good, but you expected, like a lot of people, okay, well, they had that one hiccup. Surely the offense is going to be back at it. So that was I think that was a big difference because we only disagreed on 3 of them. I picked Notre Dame, and man, I was shocked with how that game turned out. Just lopsided game. So Notre Dame's another very interesting team. There's something wrong with USC though.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen it at the end of the kind of Colorado game. It gets glossed over because they won 48-41. But the thing with USC is, like, their offense is going to put up points. But as they mentioned on the broadcast, when their offense struggles and they can't put up points, can the defense stop anybody? And from what we've seen this year, they cannot. And that's the whole thing with complimentary offense is not going to always play well. And obviously, we're going to talk about this in the next segment with football. But the thing that I loved about the Cincy win was that the offense didn't play well in the second half, but the defense picked them up. And they came through in a big way. You're going to need that sometimes. And I think that's what USC is missing right now. Caleb Williams is obviously a phenomenal player. They got great athletes, great players on both sides of the ball. But if you cannot stop somebody or when your offense is struggling, you can't pick them up, I mean, that's the result you're going to get.
Yeah, especially a team like Notre Dame, very solid program. The other big upset, I'm trying to think. I thought, the Mizzou win was a little shocking.
That was.
And then I was dumb for picking Miami over North Carolina. I feel like with all my picks, I've given Tech a lot of benefit. Like anytime they beat a team or lose, it's like I pick that opponent the next week. I thought Miami would bounce back. Watching North Carolina, even early on when they played South Carolina, they should have put that game away, and they just couldn't stay aggressive. They almost let them back in it. So I thought, okay, a team that hasn't necessarily impressed me in closing the door against a team that just blew a lead. But no, North Carolina, solid win, and Miami, that is a tough stretch for sure.
Yeah, I think the head scratching one for me was Louisville losing. After that big one they had, they ended up losing. What was it, to Pittsburgh?
That's right, 38-21.
Yeah,
they had the big win over Notre Dame.
Yeah, they just got outclassed in that one. That was a kind of a shocker for me. Rest of them I did pretty good. I will say this real quick too before we go to our predictions. I thought the Washington-Oregon game was phenomenal. I mean, 3:30 Eastern in Washington. We've seen kind of Dan Lanning go for some, some people say boneheaded plays, but he's aggressive. We've seen him be aggressive against Colorado, right? We've seen him go forward on 4th down with a fake punt on his own, end zone, not end zone, but his own territory, right? So, I mean, that's how he's going to coach. That's how he's going to play. I think that's why players love him. But that game was so good. I mean, Michael Penix is, injured. He's going through it. They're down in the game. He's pumped up. They go down, they score. I mean, it's a back and forth game, both sides of the ball, putting up points. Michael Penix Jr., hitting his receivers. I mean, that was such an electric atmosphere and game. You don't get much better than that.
100%. That actually just reminded me. Let me pull up this stat I saw from the Colorado game real quick. This is one aspect I did not talk about that I think is important. Where are we at? Okay, not top 25. One sec. So I want to show you how even this game ended up being in terms of the stats. All right, so passing, Colorado 400, Stanford 399, 1 yard difference. Rushing, Colorado 132, Stanford 124. couple yard difference. Here is the biggest thing. Where is it? Hold up. It's the penalties.
Yeah, they were terrible.
It's just
They were terrible there.
every other thing. Total yards, 332 to 532 to 523. Everything is even except penalties. 17 for 127 yards to 7. That's the other thing Colorado's got to do better.
Yeah, you got to clean that up. You can't be having boneheaded plays. You can't be having that. And I think too, Craig, you bring up a great point. That's why they were able to kind of stick around for Stanford, right? You get the big stop on third down, but you got a pass interference or a holding call, automatic first down. That plays into their favor. So great point out by Craig. Penalties, got to clean that up. Got to be a more disciplined team. So we'll see. They'll have another chance to make up for who they have this week.
Yeah, 17 penalties. It's hard to win a game like that. They'll have a bye and then at UCLA.
Yeah. So again, it's a great time to have a bye, get recalibrated. Obviously, like I said, the big win for Colorado this year was making a bowl game, right? So much hype around it, but you want to make a bowl game, get going in the right direction. Then next year you build off of that. Nobody really had them as national champion contenders, right? But I think they're still going to have a good season. I think they're still going to be bowl eligible. So we'll leave that there. All right, let's move to Week 7 predictions. I'm gonna start, Craig. I start with the first couple ones, and I'll let you throw yours in. Let's go. Penn State, Ohio State.
I'm going Ohio State. Penn State's been fantastic, but I'll take the Buckeyes at home. Yeah, Penn State. I think they're coming off that 66-0 win last week.
Who's at home?
Ohio State's at home. 4-point favorite.
Something in my gut is telling me though, like go with Penn State. I don't know what it is, but who's up in picks, Jimmy? I think Craig is 2-1 right now. He actually beat me last week. I should have went with him on the Notre Dame pick, Jimmy. But I went with USC. So Craig is up 2-1. He's won the last two, so we'll see if we can win this week. Penn State, Ohio State. He's going Ohio State. I'm going Penn State. I got upset on the road. I don't know. Some of my gut's telling me Penn State's going to come in there and get a big win. All right, UCF versus Oklahoma.
I'm going Oklahoma.
I am too. I think big time when you had a bye week, you got to come back. You're at home in the crowd. They're excited. Hey, we might have a potential chance to contend for a national championship. They should be able to beat UCF at home. That should be going. Another good one. We don't talk about these teams a lot, but Air Force versus Navy.
Oh, man. Let's see. I think you got to go Air Force.
Yeah. I'm going with Air Force too. It's tough. It's one of them games like it's a rivalry. No matter if they're ranked or not ranked, it's always going to be a good game. Never know what can happen, what it'll come down to. But I'm rolling with Craig. I think I'm rolling with Air Force too. All right, let's keep going. Boston College, Georgia Tech. I'm going to roll with Tech at home. I think they moved to 4-3, 3-1 in the conference. Big time showdown with UNC. All right, we both got Tech. Washington State versus Oregon.
I got Oregon.
Home game, they should win.
I think Washington's a good team. That's why they won last week. I mean,
I'll roll with Oregon too. I almost did at Washington State, but I'm going to roll with Oregon at home. All right, big time game right here, Craig. Tennessee versus Alabama. What you got?
I got Tennessee.
Ooh, that's a bold one. I'm going to roll with Bama at home. They struggled in the second half against Arkansas. I think they're leaning on the rushing attack a little bit more. We've seen him get rolling all throughout the first half. He's playing well, hitting his receivers. But the key for me, I like the defense. I think Bama can get the stops defensively. I think they can turn over Joe Milton, similar to how Florida did in that big-time game. And I got to roll with Bama defense. That's what I'm rolling with. Craig has Tennessee, so I'm going to put a CS for Craig. I think we only disagree on 2 picks so far. That's the Ohio State one and then the Tennessee Bama. All right, let's keep going. Pittsburgh versus Wake Forest. Pittsburgh's coming off that big win. They're going on the road to Wake Forest. Wake Forest had a good start, 3-0. They've been struggling a little bit lately. Who you got in that one?
Wake Forest.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Wake too. I think they should be able to win that one at home. Home crowd should be feeling good. They should come out on top. All right. Texas versus Houston. Texas coming off that loss, playing on the road against Houston. Can they get the mojo back? Houston's a pretty decent team. I'm gonna roll with Texas on the road.
I got Texas as well.
Yeah, I got Texas on that one. All right, Michigan versus Michigan State. Number 2 Michigan coming to this game. Michigan State probably don't have the best record, but it is a rivalry game on the road. Who you got?
I got Michigan.
I'm gonna roll upset. I'm going Michigan State.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going big upset. So it's all right. We doing disagree on that one. All right, this is another big one. I'm gonna throw it to you, Craig, for some games. Duke, Florida State. Who you got?
Florida State.
Yeah, I think they have too many weapons. Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jordan Travis has been playing good. I just think Florida State's humming right now. I think they're going to continue to hum. I think they're having a good year. All right, Craig, I throw it to you. Those are my picks.
TCU, Kansas State.
What is Kansas State's record right now?
4-2. It's at Kansas State. TCU had a big win last week.
I'm going to roll Kansas State.
Same.
Yeah, I got to go Kansas State. Yeah.
Thought that was going to be an interesting one. All right, let's see. Utah and USC.
Ooh. Are they both ranked?
Yes. 14 Utah, 18 USC.
That is tough. Utah's played good all year. I picked USC last week. They let me down. I'm going to stick with them. I mean, I think USC at home should be able to win that. They've struggled, but I think they get back on track.
I'm picking USC also reluctantly.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too.
So I do like Utah. Let's see. Clemson and Miami.
Miami's struggling. It is a home game for them, but I'm going to roll with Clemson. I think they get their third loss. I think Clemson goes on the road and gets that win.
I agree with that. I got Clemson. Let's pick another one. What are we at now? Is that 9?
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 13.
Okay, let's do one more. Okay, this one's very tight. Baylor and Cincinnati.
Baylor's disappointed me this season. I'm going Cincinnati.
I'm going with Cincinnati as well. Crazy, they're both 2-4.
Yep. I'll go Cincinnati. Yep. But yeah, we only disagree on 3 picks. Looks like again. So Penn State, Ohio State. I went upset. Tennessee, Alabama. Craig went Tennessee, and then Michigan State. I went upset with Michigan State at home.
Some pretty big disagreements. We'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna find out who comes out on top. Jimmy says he got Duke for the upset against Florida State. If it was at Duke, I would probably be more inclined to agree with you. But it's at Florida State. They're humming. I don't think Duke has enough to match up with them. I know they're playing good this year. I know they beat Clemson with a big time win to start the season, but I think Florida State has too much.
Yeah, Duke is a good team, though. I might be pulling for them in that one, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But we're going to leave it there, bookmark it. Let's see who comes out on top. We'll revisit it next week. We'll move to our final segment to wrap up the show with some NFL. Philadelphia and San Fran set for both their first losses of the year. Do you think it's time to panic, or do you just think – I think it's more so it's just the parity in the NFL. But what was your just analysis on that?
I think with San Francisco, they should have won that game. Yeah. I mean, that's the way I see it, missing that last-second field goal. Obviously, they didn't play well, had injuries. McCaffrey's out.
Debo.
Yeah, Debo Samuels goes out as well. So they still had a chance to win that one. I don't think they're panicking. As for Philadelphia, I still, despite what we've seen in the NFC, I still think it's those 2 teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's the same thing as I've always said with my team, Cincinnati, and did again Sunday. But I think for Philly, you just got to lean on the rushing game a little bit. I think leaning on DeAndre Swift, leaning on Kenneth Gainwell, leaning on Boston Scott and Rashad Penny a little bit more. Just take the ball. I mean, obviously, Hurts is great, but I think they're putting a little bit too much pressure on Hurts, passing a little too much. Go with your identity. You have such a great offensive line. Lean on them a little bit more going forward instead of always passing. We know they got makers, but I think they should lean on the run a little bit. But right now, I have to be honest. I love the parity in the NFL, right? New York and Cleveland both have some great defenses, and we've seen that on full display. They make Hurts and Purdy look pretty pedestrian. So I think it's just more so the parity in the NFL. I think that just goes to show you these are probably potentially middle-of-the-pack teams in Cleveland and New York, but the AFC is so elite and good, and there's no dominant team. I think, any given Sunday, as far as facing an AFC team, anything can happen.
Yeah, I think it didn't used to be the case where if the best team or one of the best teams played one of the worst teams, you would never expect an upset. But we've seen that in recent seasons all the time.
Yes.
And with Brock Purdy's numbers, 100%, he did not have a good game. The only times he's not passing above 50%, he had an off day. And that's a credit to the defense, but I also just expect that's going to happen every once in a while.
Yeah.
We saw with Mahomes a couple weeks ago against the Jets.
Yep.
And the Jets, look what they just did. So I think a quarterback is bound to have a bad start every once in a while. The guys are off rhythm, but other than that, I think they'll be fine. When it comes to the other team in the NFC, though, like the Lions,
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Thing.
Yep.
They weren't able to run the ball at all in that game.
Against Tampa Bay. Yep.
Jared Goff steps up and has a huge day passing the ball. So, as you said, it's like the complementary football. When one thing's not working, you got to have that ability to pick up the slack. And so no one thinks of the Detroit Lions as just a team that's not going to try to run the ball. In that game, that's what they had to do. And he threw some really great balls, like perfect passes.
I think the Lions is a team to beat. What's going on, Cam? I appreciate you tuning into the show. That's Cam Lloyd. That's one you've highlighted. What's going on, Cam? Y'all got who they play this week?
Walton, they've got. Let's see, is it Cherokee? I think they still have Cherokee.
Like
Osborne and Wheeler on the schedule. I think it's Cherokee this week.
Okay, bad. But nah, man, what's going on, man? We appreciate you tuning into the show, man. I didn't even know you watched, man. That's what's up, man. We've been seeing you play the season, man. You've been balling out, man.
Yeah, they got Cherokee.
Yeah, they should win that. Yeah, they should win that. Yeah, man. Keep doing your thing, Cam, man. We appreciate it, man. Appreciate the love, man. But we're gonna keep going. I think though with the Lions, though, I think they're a good team, man. I do. And we're gonna talk about Seattle too, but I think going on the road, holding them to 6 points. Right. And as you said, couldn't run the ball. They're facing injuries. David Montgomery got hurt. Jahmyr Gibbs is battling injuries. Right. But to go on the road and beat Tampa Bay in that kind of a fashion, I think that's big. Now listen to stat line. You talked about Goff. He played exceptionally well. 353 yards, 2 tutties. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 12 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown. The big thing about that, Jameson Williams, right? Imagine adding another piece to that offense as good as St. Brown, right? When teams try to double him, you got Jameson Williams. He scored his first touchdown in a long time, right? They have a plethora of weapons. Then you add Sam Laporta, who's coming in from Iowa, and he's been having a good season. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they got so many weapons and so many people you could throw the ball to. Detroit is dangerous.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the most impressive part, their defense held Tampa Bay to 6 points. Right, this is without C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They got a kid, Brian Branch from Alabama, who's been playing well. So they got so many good players. I mean, you know what? Detroit is for real. And I think they're going to get a good chance to prove it, Craig, because guess who they got this week?
Detroit, what did we say? Can't remember what you said.
They have to play Baltimore.
Oh, yeah, that's
on the road. Yeah. That is a big game. They like to run the ball. You're going to see physicality in that game. Goff might not have the numbers because the Ravens' defense is really good. But watch for that game. If Detroit can go in there in Baltimore, a tough AFC team, a contender, a top of the division, and they can go in there and beat them, Detroit is for real. That's going to be a game to watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And their only loss was the overtime one to Seattle. So no one's beaten them in regulation yet. They look outstanding. They're tough at home. This is going to be on the road. But I think they're putting themselves in a great position. I think this is also their best start since 2011. So this is a big season for them.
Yep.
And after that, they've got some pretty easy games in that division. The Bears don't look that good. Packers have had some trouble.
Yep.
The Vikings don't look that good. So they're in a comfortable place right now. I know the Lions fans are very excited with what they're seeing, just the effort each week and just the confidence in winning.
100%. All right, guys, we got a couple more before we wrap up the show. Chargers, Cowboys. I'm going to throw it to you first, Craig. What was your takeaway from that game last night?
It's just, I thought the quote afterwards was interesting, and they were pointing out how before the season the Cowboys were saying, offensively, we aren't trying to be the best offense in the league. We just want to establish the run and basically just establish our style of play. that's what they did. And the Chargers, they're a team that I think people can't quite figure out what's wrong with them, but they just aren't good at winning. Like at the end of the day, they just lose a lot of games. And
Right.
that's why I've never really saw them as a threat to the Chiefs. But I thought it was a good, patient win by the Cowboys, and I thought they looked solid.
Yeah, I think the physicality stands out to me in that game. Obviously, both sides of the ball, Dallas and obviously the Chargers. My big stat from that game, third quarter, they had the ball for 12 minutes and 38 seconds. Dallas possessed the ball for 1 minute in the third quarter. Chargers come away with 3 points. That is my big stat. You have the ball for over 12 minutes. You control the clock. You have the ball twice, and you only get 3 points. No, you got to get those into touchdowns. We've seen at the end, towards the end of the game, um, Justin Herbert missed on a wide open Keenan Allen who killed the defender. That's a touchdown score. He's going to make a move outside and then in. That's a touchdown for the Chargers. They go up. You put the pressure back on Dak to go back down the field and score again. So I think certain pieces of that game, Herbert missed on some throws. I think he'll be better. He's dealing with a broken finger. That obviously plays a part in it. But I think, as you mentioned, man, they haven't done enough to play winning football, right? They're missing something. The running game was not effective in that game. They shut down Austin Eckler for the most part in that game. So they just got to do better as far as incorporating the run, getting Austin Eckler involved. And I got to give some game balls to the Dallas defense, right? I got to go. I got to highlight the player. Hold on, let me figure out his name real quick. Dallas Cowboys roster. I thought his play and how he locked up Austin Eckler and the way he was just flying to the football, I got to give this man some love. Marquise Bell, that's his name. Marquise Bell had 5 tackles in this game, 2 assist tackles. The way he was flying to the ball in that game and was wrapping up Eckler and was giving Herbert problems, and it was also the offensive line has to be better for the Los Angeles Chargers, right? It was the most game he was sacked, or the most pressure he had all year long. 57% of his snaps he was pressured. Got to be better. Just got. So that's my standouts. Big game. I thought he played well. He was efficient. Stepped up in a big way when he needed to. And what did they do in that game, Craig? They got CeeDee Lamb involved, right? One of their best players on offense, and also including Tony Pollard. But they got the ball to CeeDee Lamb, 7 catches, 7 targets, 117 yards. You get your playmakers the ball, that's what's going to happen. Big win for the Cowboys.
Yes, excellent game plan. Back to what you said about the Chargers only producing 3 points. There were a lot of points left on the board across the NFL last week. Some miscues in the red zone. You had the Falcons game, the intercept. That's just something. I mean, every coach at every level of football knows it. You get in the red zone, you get these scoring opportunities, you can't leave points on the board.
Nope.
We saw it way too much this last week in one of the more low-scoring weeks we've seen in the NFL this season. So the defenses have stepped up, but in the case of, let's say, the Bills game we're talking about, it's like these offensive linemen are making a lot of money.
Yep.
And their job is to get 1 yard when you need it.
Yeah.
And that's just frustrating.
It is. It is.
And if that was my job and I was an offensive lineman,
yep,
and my team got stuffed when we just needed 1 yard, I would take that personally.
No, 100%. And we got to talk about that. But speaking of Buffalo, I mean, if you're the Giants, you blew that game, right? You played so well defensively and throughout the game that you should have won the game. They lost. I mean, now you got to throw some blame on Tyrod Taylor because towards the end of the half, you can go up potentially 13-0 instead of a 6-0 lead. He checks to a run play with Saquon Barkley. It gets stuffed. They don't have any timeouts. That's just not smart. At that case, you could still go up 9-0, potentially make it a 2-touchdown or 2-possession game. You got to be smart in them situations. So for me, it's the red zone for why the Giants lost the game. Twice in the red zone, they could not convert. Obviously, I think that was a pass interference call on Terrell Johnson at the end when he's kind of tagging on his shirt. Most of the time you see that call, that should have been called. Nonetheless, you got to convert when you're in the red zone. That's the biggest thing. But, I mean, if you're the Giants, you got to be sick. You get a good game. Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn over the ball besides the boneheaded kind of play he had to the end. He played good winning football. Those are the games you have to win if you want to turn around your season.
Yes, and, I mean, the stats from that game were very interesting. This is the first time the Bills were scoreless through 3 quarters in forever. The offense was struggling, and then to come away with that win, big, because they've had some games where the Bills kind of blew it turned it over too much, but they got one to go in their favor this time. And I'm trying to pull this up because the Giants were dealing before the game with a bunch of injuries on
Yes.
their offensive line. Let's see. They begin the day missing two offensive line starters, left tackle Andrew Thomas, their center. They had Joshua Ezadu starting in place of Thomas. He left the game, didn't return. So that's something they knew going into the game. And so that makes it almost ironic that you play well, you have a chance to win, and now it's coming down to the one thing that you knew was going to be a problem going into the matchup.
Yep.
And then it gets stuffed. And so, or not stuffed, just shut down. So they knew that was the one area.
Yep. They did. I mean, so tough slate, and Saquon finally got going in the second half. 2 big runs for 30-plus yards. So, he tried his best at what he could do, and I think it just shows that he should have been paid. I mean, obviously, he's dealt with some injuries, but he's a big part of their offense. We've seen Jalen Hyatt have a pretty good game as well, but he is a large portion of their offense. And when he's rolling and he's having a pretty decent game, the Giants are in most games. So I think that was my biggest standout too. But we'll leave that there. We're going to wrap Craig. Me and Craig's biggest takeaway from the weekend for NFL. What was just your biggest takeaway?
Well, no undefeated teams left. That's huge. But I really think it's the Detroit Lions. Now they're up at the top tier with just the one-loss team. They played well every single week, and I just thought the plays you were talking about with Jared Goff, some of the big completions they're having. There's a lot of offenses in the NFL that people talk about. The Chiefs, their creativity, the Dolphins, all their weapons, but I just like the play calling and just execution of the Lions. I think they're an exciting team to watch. And obviously, I still like Philadelphia and the 49ers. They dealt with injuries, but I think my biggest takeaway is the Lions are a top-tier team.
And my biggest takeaway, I give some love to my defense, the Bengals defense. Great time performance. Carried the game for us yet again. Have won 2 games for us this year, the Rams game and now the Seattle game. Just what they did, and a crazy stat for you too, Craig. You'll appreciate this. They had 5 possessions in the red zone, only 1 score. So that is phenomenal defensive play. I think they had 4 in the fourth quarter, or 3 or 4 in the fourth quarter, and they shut them down at the 10-yard line. Great game from Cam Taylor-Britt. Had an interception, was hitting hard. Got DK Metcalf frustrated. Still performed at a high level. He performed great. Defensive line was big. I think he had 5 sacks in that game. So I got to get a game ball to the defense. Rumo gets my game ball, gets my biggest takeaway. They were phenomenal. And as Jamar Chase said, we have a championship-like defense. And if they're playing at that high of a level and our young corners are stepping up and the Cam Taylor-Britts and the DJ Turners of the world and our safeties and our linebackers are playing at that level, they could potentially win. That is a really good Seattle Seahawks team. Okay, I will say that again. That is a potential Final Four team. To do that to them, make Geno turn over the ball, 2 interceptions. They played great. Offensively, a little bit more left to be desired. Looked good in the first half. They have to run the football more, as I've always been saying. 12 carries is not enough for Joe Mixon. Get Chase Brown involved. Get Chris Evans involved, Travion Henderson. Work some different things. You cannot run a shotgun the whole game and expect to be effective. You have a good offensive line. You look a lot better than years past, but the teams can tee off when you're one-dimensional. That's all I got to say about the offense. Defense gets my game ball, though. Phenomenal performance.
Yeah, my other takeaway before we go is the South on both conferences, AFC South. NFC South, it's very interesting right now, and a big matchup this week, Falcons-Bucks. And then it's a big win for the Texans to get over the Saints, and that kind of threw a wrench in everything. So those divisions are still going to be very exciting, and obviously they'll be going head-to-head the rest of the season.
100%. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Special love to head coach, or running backs coach Bryce Doe, Cam Lloyd from Walton, wide receiver. Appreciate you tuning in. Jimmy Cash, as always, tuning into our shows live at noon every single Tuesday. Craig will be back tomorrow for his Wednesday show to break down some stuff from across football. GHSA, I'm sure you'll have a coach on as well, so tune in for that. I'll be back live at Thursday at 2 p.m. with a very, very good show as well, and then Craig will be back at Friday. So thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate the support. We'll see you soon. Peace.